All right, so I'm going to show you how to make the frozen lemon squares. These are so good. It's one of the desserts that I'm kind of known for because it's so good, and it's really not that hard to do. Now I want to just show you real fast two different lemons, a tale of two lemons. Okay, this is a regular lemon, the kind you can get at the store at any time of the year, basic lemon. Okay, this is a Meyer lemon. Okay, this season is from about November to March, and these are prize lemons. This is the type of lemon I use for the lemon square that I'm making today. What's the difference? Well, if you look at the color, this one is a little bit orangey yellow, like an egg yolk, and this one is more just yellow. And also this has a whole lot more bumps and divots in it, whereas this one is smoother. And the flavor of the Meyer lemon, it's not as sour. It's almost kind of like lemon perfumey, whereas this one is a little bit more sour. Now, to make any lemon dessert, you can use either kind of lemon, but if you can get your hands on Meyer lemons, they're really good. Okay, let's try this thing. This beautiful lemon square. We got the homemade graham cracker crust, the lemon custard, and the whipped cream topping frozen. Let's see. Let's get a good look of me getting in there. Oh man, look at this, beautiful. So let's have a taste. Man, oh, that is so good. Graham cracker crust, when you make those yourself, they are so much better than anything you can buy. Real whipped cream, beautiful fresh Meyer lemons. This is so good. Let me show you how to make it yourself. All right, so here's what you need to make the frozen lemon squares. You're going to need graham crackers. I much prefer crushing my own graham crackers for the crust, as opposed to buying graham cracker crumbs, because graham cracker crumbs, you don't know how old they are if you buy them already in crumbs. But these, it has an expiration date here. This is the way to go. Okay, sugar, basic regular sugar, butter. Okay, now it has to be butter, never margarine. Never use margarine. I would say never use it ever, but certainly never use margarine in baking. Margarine is a whole different product than butter. Butter is cream. That's all it is. I can make butter at home. I could never make margarine at home because I don't have a factory at home. Butter is what you want. Butter always comes in a stick like this, a wrapped stick like this, and it always is going to say butter, that's it. I always use unsalted butter when I cook. If you use salted butter, it wouldn't make that big a difference, but I always use unsalted. You also need a can of sweetened condensed milk. That's not the same as evaporated milk, not even close. It's got to be sweetened condensed milk. You are going to need 3 eggs. Actually, you're only going to need the yolks of 3 eggs. You will not be using the whites, but you will be using the yolks of the eggs. You're going to need fresh lemons. We'll get back to the lemon issue, but it's got to be fresh lemons, and probably I would say 3, maybe even a 4th lemon waiting in the wings in case you need it, because you don't want to run out of fresh lemons. And you're also going to need some powdered sugar, also known as confectioner sugar. Heavy whipping cream. It's got to say heavy whipping cream. If it doesn't have these 3 words on it, it's the wrong thing. Heavy whipping cream. You're going to be baking this in an 8x8 pan, 8 inches by 8 inches. Can you use a different size pan? No. You need an 8x8 inch pan. If you don't have an 8x8 inch pan, get one. This is one of the most common sizes of pans. And also very helpful if you have heavy duty, see that? Heavy duty aluminum foil. Regular foil will work for what I'm going to show you, but heavy duty foil works way better. Great to have on hand. So that's what you need, and now we'll start making it. Okay, so the first thing I did was I have preheated my oven to 325. So that's heating up. It's always important to preheat your oven pretty much before you get going anything else. So get the oven going so that when you need it, it'll be nice and hot. Okay, I've got my 8x8 pan. You could use a glass pan if you wanted to, as long as it's 8 inches by 8 inches. Okay, now that heavy duty foil, here it is. So I've torn off a large sheet of heavy duty foil. What am I gonna do with it? I'm gonna line this pan with the foil. If you've ever made any kind of bar cookie or cake or brownie and you've made it into a pan, in a pan like this, if you try without the foil, if you try getting them out, you always ruin several of them, especially around the perimeter. You get all these broken up, chewed up things and they don't look good. So there's a way around that. Take your heavy duty foil or regular foil. If it's regular foil, you just have to be more delicate with it. So what you do is you press it into here. Okay, push it into all the corners. You gotta get it all the way into the corners. And I'll come back when this is done. Okay, so I have lined this completely with the heavy duty foil. Again, you gotta get in all the corners. There's no gaps. It's completely fitted into here. I'm just gonna give this a little spritz of cooking spray. You don't need much. And probably if you left it out, it wouldn't even make a difference. So some cooking spray. And next I'm gonna show you how to put the crust together. Okay, so for the graham cracker crumb crust. First of all, it took me, I like to get these Fresh Stacks graham crackers because they come in these little packets like this. So they're not all open so they don't all get stale. You're gonna need roughly 3 packs like this, or there's 8, 16, probably about 24 half graham crackers, okay? But just buy the whole box and use what you need. And what you need to do is you need to crush these guys up. Here's a way to do it, a very DIY way, is just put them in a bag like this, put the crackers in there, crush them with a can or a rolling pin or something like that. What I did was I have a little food processor, this thing, that I use, and it crushes them up really good. You want them really fine, kind of powdery. A blender, depending on the blender, could probably do the job too. But you always have this nice old-fashioned just crush them kind of way. How much you're gonna need? You're gonna need 1 cup plus a 1/4 cup. 1 cup plus a 1/4 cup. These are dry things. You measure dry things in measuring cups like this. If it's a glass measuring cup, those are for liquids. So 1 cup and a 1/4 cup. Into a bowl they go. Also, a 1/4 cup of regular sugar, just basic regular sugar. And I'm gonna get to the butter next. So give me a second and I'll get to the butter. Alrighty, for the butter. I had a stick of butter, see here, and what I did was I cut the stick of butter in half. You need a 1/2 stick of butter, otherwise known as a 1/4 cup of butter to do this recipe. A full stick of butter is a 1/2 cup of butter. So a 1/2 of a stick of butter is a 1/4 cup of butter. Okay. Now for the butter, you need to melt it, okay? Now here's 2 things that I could possibly melt the butter in. I could put the butter in here and melt it, or I can put the butter into something tall and deep. And this is the way to go, tall and deep. If you try to melt the butter in something short, shallow, there's a good chance it's gonna splash all over your microwave. I know from experience, okay? So you want something tall and deep. Yes, this is a measuring cup. I'm not measuring the butter. This is only being used as a vessel to melt the butter in the microwave. And I like even extra insurance that it's not gonna make a mess out of my microwave. So I take a damp paper towel and just place it over like that. So just in case that butter wants to make any escape, this is gonna keep it in. Usually, depending on the microwave, it takes about 30 seconds, but you wanna melt it so there's no solid pieces of butter left. So I'm gonna do that in my microwave right now and come back. All right, so we got the sugar and the graham cracker crumbs in a medium bowl. So I'm just going to give that a stir to incorporate that sugar. Alrighty. There's our melted butter right there. We're going to pour that in. Get as much of it out of here as we can. Stir it up. And as you stir it up, you can see things are starting to clump together. Stir it up so you can't see any more dry graham cracker. It should all change a darker, slightly darker shade of brown. This is looking like it's coming together. There we go. So the next step is going to be to turn this into the pan, the lined with foil pan that we have, and press it into the bottom. And that is looking good. So there's only 3 ingredients in here: the graham cracker crumbs, the sugar, and the butter, the melted butter. That's it, that's all. Okay, so this goes in here. Get it all out there, all out. Okay, so what I do is I level it off. If you have long, crazy fingernails, this might be a little harder to do. But level it off. Okay, and now use your strength. Press it in. Press it in. Get it in there. Press it down. Get the corners. Press it in there all the way around. Pack it down. Pack it down. Pack it down. This way the crust will stay together. When you're taking them out of the pan, when you're eating it, that's what you want. Pressing it down, hacking it down. Okay, this is looking pretty good. So we're just gonna set this aside as we work on the lemon filling part of this recipe. So we'll come back in just a second. Okay, so remember that bowl that we used to make the crust? I just wiped it out. There's no need to dirty another bowl. So here's that bowl. The sweetened condensed milk I have opened up. It's going to go in there. You see how very thick it is? And a lot of it stays behind. You see in there, a lot of it stays behind. So you want to get something, a rubber spatula is really good to scrape all that stuff out, because a lot of it does like to stay behind in the can, and we need it in our dessert. And you're using up the whole can. This is a 14-ounce can. That's exactly the size that you need. Okay, so that's in there. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the lemons. All right, so for the lemon part, you gotta use fresh lemons. Okay, there is no debate. There is no, oh, but I can use this stuff. This stuff, the lemon juice and the little plastic lemon, okay? Never ever use this for cooking. Why do I even have it in my kitchen? I just squeeze this on like apples or cut up avocado to keep them from turning brown. But this doesn't taste a thing like fresh lemon juice. It truly does not. Now these are regular lemons. I love to use Meyer lemons for this particular recipe because of their unique, almost cologne, lemon cologne sort of flavor. But any kind of lemon, as long as it's fresh, is fine. You need a half cup of it. So when you squeeze the lemon juice out of these lemons, you got to get rid of those seeds and pulp, so that all you have is a half cup of juice left. Lucky for me, look at this. I have a half cup of juice from when I had a whole bunch of Meyer lemons all at once, way too many. So I squeezed them and I portioned them into half cup portions and put them in my freezer, and they'll keep for months that way. So I'm just gonna use this half cup, already measured in a half cup of lemon juice, right on top of that condensed milk. There you go, half cup of lemon juice. The last thing is gonna be the egg yolks, and we'll come back for that. All right, so last step for the lemon stuff, the egg yolks. We only need the yolks. We do not need the whites. The whites you can use for another recipe. Actually, I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I got my 3 eggs here, and I got one of these little glass dishes called a custard cup. In case you don't know how to separate eggs, I'm going to show you how to do that because we just want the yolks. So we're going to crack this over the bowl, hold it like this, and what you want to do is you want to let the egg white kind of fall into the cup. And I like to put the yolk kind of back and forth to get all the white out that I can. That's looking good. So I have a yolk right there. Boom, into the bowl it goes. Let me do another one. Okay. All right, let that egg white fall down. Okay, this takes a little bit of practice to get good at separating eggs. But, you know, you do the practice and you start to be able to get it. Okay, now look over here. Boom, in it goes. Okay, I'll do one more. Right here. Okay, well, that didn't quite work out as well, but we're gonna make it work. Actually, the colder eggs are, the easier they are to separate. And these eggs have been out a little bit, so. Okay, thunk, there you go. Okay, so it looks like, look in there, my 3 egg whites came out okay. If you see, get in real close. If you see some like these little white blobby things, and you're thinking, what the heck is that? That's called the chalazi actually, and it's part of the egg white. It kind of anchors the egg yolk to the egg white. That's absolutely fine. I have this bag. Look at this. I have a bag already labeled egg whites plus the date. And since these egg whites look good, I'm meaning I don't see any egg yolk in there. I'm going to save these 3 egg whites to make some other kind of dessert. And notice, even though they're called egg whites, they're not white. They look yellow. But that's okay. There's no blobs of egg yolk in there, so these guys are good to go. And these are going to go in my freezer, because these can last a long time. Learn to use your freezer. It's useful. Okay, so we've got all 3 things in here. We've got the condensed milk, the 3 egg yolks, and the lemon juice. You're going to get a whisk and whisk it all up. You don't need a mixer. You don't need anything electric. In fact, it would over mix it. All you need to do is this. Just get those 3 ingredients all mixed up. If you didn't have a whisk, could you use a spoon? You could. You just have to make sure those egg yolks get nice and broken. Till it kind of looks like a smoothie now, doesn't it? That's what you're looking for. All right, I'm gonna go get that crust and I'm gonna pour it into the crust in just 1 second. Okay, so there is our beautiful lemon filling. Right on top of the crust it goes. You wanna get it all out. That's where that rubber spatula really comes in handy again. Get this stuff in there. Okay. All right. And then I'm just gonna kind of move it around there to fill in the corners. Okay, so this is going to go into the oven. That's at 325 for 9 minutes, and then I'm going to take it out. And in my oven, the rack is in about the middle. Okay, it's not way down low, it's not way high up, it's right about in the middle. That's where you want it. And I'm going to bake this for 9 minutes, and then we're going to take it out. It's not going to look a lot different than what it looks like now, but instead of being liquidy, it's going to be much more firm when it comes out after 9 minutes. And if your oven tends to run hot, maybe go 8 minutes, because not all ovens are the same. Okay, I will come back when this is out of the oven. Okay, so 9 minutes has elapsed. I have taken it out of the oven. You see it does look pretty much the same as it did going in, but it doesn't have much jiggle now. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let this stay at room temperature until it cools. So maybe 45 minutes to about an hour. Leave it at room temperature, let it cool. Then put it into the refrigerator. Because before this gets topped with the whipped cream topping, It has to be cold. If it's even a little warm or room temperature, the whipped topping will start to melt on it, which is not what we want. So I always make this dessert, whenever I want to serve it, I always make it the day ahead, or actually even 2 days ahead, to give it time to thoroughly cool, so that when you put the whipped cream topping on, it works and it doesn't melt. So I will come back probably tomorrow to see you again when I do the whipped cream part. All right, so now we're ready for the topping for the frozen lemon squares. And I have my 1 1/4 cups heavy whipping cream right here. Now about the bowl, there's a couple ways you can do this with the whipped cream topping. First of all, please do not use Cool Whip or any of that non-food stuff, okay? It's not technically food. Just because you eat it, read the list of ingredients of Cool Whip one time. It'll shock you. Anyway, so I have my 1 1/4 cups heavy whipping cream, and this is cold. This bowl for my mixer, also cold. Those are 2 big factors to help you whip this cream, is to have the bowl cold, and also I'm going to use the whisk attachment, have it cold. These have actually been sitting in the fridge for a long time, so they're nice and cold. Now you could also do this by hand with a whisk. If you had just a whisk, you put the cream in there and did that, it would take some time and some muscle, but that could be done that way. Or you could certainly do this with a hand mixer, kind of mixer you can, but I have one of these nice KitchenAid, so I'm going to use it. Okay, so I'm going to put my cold whipping cream right into the bowl there. And I'm going to attach the whisk attachment right here. The whisk attachment is born to do this. Okay, so let's get, let's see. I'm forgetting how to do this thing here. This first. There we go. Okay. The one at school's a little bit different. And when I do this, I'm going to do this. Yeah, okay, hold on. Different at school, I forget. I'm going to do this at high speed. How long is it going to take? We don't really know, but I'll pause it when we get to a stage where I think it's looking pretty good. And I also have waiting in the wings, a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. I may not use it all, but I probably won't need more than that. So let me get whipping on this, and I'll come back. Okay, so this is starting to thicken up. As you can see, I'm going to add some of the sugar to it. Not all of it, but some of it. Keep it going. You want to get this cream whipped until it looks like kind of like thick shaving cream. You don't want to go too far because then you'll end up with halfway to butter. But you don't want to not go far enough because then it's just sort of sloppy. It doesn't form a stiff peak. And you're going to have to taste. You're going to have to add enough of that powdered sugar until it tastes the way you want. I don't generally like it to be terribly sweet because it's going on top of a dessert that already has some sweetness in it. But a little bit of sugar definitely helps. I'm going to keep going with this. Keep going with this. Hard to do from backwards. And get it more whipped, and then I'll let you know the next step. Okay, take a good look at inside there. That is nice and thick now. I added most of the sugar, but not quite all of it. But I was tasting it to see that I got it the sweetness that I wanted. How do you know if you've whipped it enough? If you can do this. If you can do that, and it doesn't all flop out at you, and that would be kind of bad if it did, but you should be able to turn it upside down and nothing happens. That's nice and thick. Next, I'm going to show you how to spread it on top of our cooled, chilled lemon, frozen lemon square, although it's not frozen yet. Okay, so here it is. This is very cold. It's been in the fridge overnight. And we're going to put the whipped cream topping on top of it. The best tool to do that is this rubber spatula. So first thing I do is I scoop it all out onto the top. Get every bit out there. Oh boy. And then just start spreading it around. Spreading it around. Get in the corners. Okay, just like that. but this is just the best tool for it. Okay. There you go. Make it nice and even. Okay. There we go. That looks good to me. Beautiful. Okay. And see that? That's your cook's tax. Okay. That's for you now. So this beauty is going to go into the freezer now for the first time to freeze up. That should take a few hours. And then I'll show you what it looks like, and I'll show you the beauty, the genius of the aluminum foil lining a pan. All right, so I'll see you in a few hours. Okay, so the whipped cream that we spread on top is now very, very hard and cold because this has been in the freezer. Now, here's the genius of lining the pan with heavy duty foil or regular foil if it's all you have. Is because of that. Pan is empty. It's clean, in fact. I don't even have to wash it. But more importantly, this is out of it. If you were trying to cut this while it was still in the pan, the pieces around the edges, it would just be a crime scene. It would be sad. They'd be all messed up and not pretty looking. Why do that? So what you can do now is peel the foil right off. You see all three layers, the crust, the lemon part, and the whipped cream part, right there like that. So now you have a perfect square ready to be cut. I always cut these into 9 pieces like a tic-tac-toe board. Any bigger and it tends to be a little bit too big. These are rich little guys. Use a sharp knife on a board to cut this. Just like that. Oh, there we go. And again, I'm aiming for 9, so that's what I'm gonna do. If you want to make this for a dessert, it's a really good idea to do it ahead of time, like 2 or 3 days ahead of time. And then it's all done, finished, ready to go. Look at that beauty. Ready to go for you when you're ready. There's no having to make it the same day. And there you go. So 9 beautiful servings of frozen lemon dessert. This is so, so, so good. And I hope you try it, because if you have guests, they will be crazy for this. They will want the recipe. They will love this, because it happens to me all the time. I promise you. It's from experience. So enjoy this. And if you made it, let me know.